An 18-year-old's forehand just registered a shot quality of 9.8 on tour, where the average is about 7.5. His name is Joao Fonseca. He is 18, he is from Rio, and the top 10 already know it. It is February 2025 in Buenos Aires. The clay of the Argentina Open is warm under the lights, and a teenager who has never won a title on this tour is a few points from one. When it is over, he has done something no one his age had ever done. No player born in 2006 or later had won an ATP title. Now one has. The locker room did not notice the trophy. It noticed the shot that won it. Across 2025, his forehand averaged 81 miles an hour. The rest of the tour lives at 76. And it does not just travel, it spins. 3,019 revolutions a minute against a tour that sits closer to 2,800. On his heaviest drives, 84 miles an hour at over 3,000 RPM. Watch one in slow motion. The racket drops low beneath the ball. The legs and hips load like a spring, and the chest turns until it faces the back fence behind him, then whips forward until it faces the fence behind the net. The arm stays loose. The tip of the racket falls behind his hitting elbow before it fires, a slack whip snapping tight, and he finishes at the bicep, the way Alcaraz and Sinner do, not up over the shoulder. That's where the speed hides, not in the arm, in the delay. So when he walked into his first Grand Slam main draw at the Australian Open, ranked a modest 113th, and drew Andre Rublev, no one was worried. They should have been. He beat him. A year before that, he had been ranked around 730th. One quarterfinal run in Rio dragged him to 145. The climb never slowed. In Paris, on his French Open debut, he met the 30th seed Hubert Hurkacz. Same story. Fonseca won. By October, he had a second title, on the fast indoor courts of Basel, beating Alejandro Davidovich Fokina for the Swiss indoors crown. Brazil began saying a name it had not said in 20 years. The name was Guga. Gustavo Kyor, the last Brazilian to own a court like this. And here, at 19, was a kid already called a generational talent, still learning to trade some of that power for patience. And yet the same analysts who clocked that 98 forehand filed a verdict that sits strangely beside it. Across the full season, they graded Fonseca's forehand only mid-pack, the most feared young shot on tour, ranked average. One number in their report explains why, and it has nothing to do with power. It is a second-set tiebreak in Buenos Aires, and the ball is coming to his forehand at 7 points to 1. Freeze it here before he swings. Everything that terrifies the top 10 is already loaded into his body. Watch the racket first. It drops below the incoming ball, lower than it needs to, a deliberate dive under the strike zone. His legs bend and his hips coil against the shot, storing the ground like a spring pressed flat. Then the chest turns, not a shoulder, the whole torso, rotating from back fence to back fence. And through all of it, the arm stays loose. So loose that the racket tip lags behind the hitting elbow, trailing the motion until the body drags it forward and it cracks through the ball. That lag is the whole trick. The reason the head arrives faster than any muscle could push it. He finishes low, to bicep level, the same short follow-through Alcaraz and Sin use, never wrapping over the shoulder. The result on that one swing in Buenos Aires, a shot quality of 9.8, against a tour average of about 7.5. Very few forehands on the planet touch that number. Textbook, every frame. So why did the same analysts grade the season-long forehand only mid-pack? The answer is buried in two numbers that have nothing to do with how hard he hits. First, across the year, only 81% of those forehands landed in. Second, the one that stings. When he aimed for the corner, he found the strip within 1 meter of the sideline just 22% of the time. Here is the cruelty of it. The loose, lagging whip that manufactures the 9.8 is the exact same mechanism that sprays one ball in 5 long or wide. To raise the 81%, he would have to slow the whip, and slowing the whip kills the 9.8. The shot that terrifies the top 10 cannot be tightened without being blunted, which is the choice that will define whether he becomes the next Cougar or stalls at Prodigy. It is a February night in Buenos Aires, and above the court, a ring of cameras is doing math. Every ball he strikes is timed, plotted, turned into a number before it lands. For a year, the fear was just talk. He hits it big, they said. The ball jumps, they said. But talk doesn't survive a censor. An average forehand on the tour leaves the strings at 76 miles an hour. His leaves at 81. 5 miles an hour. On paper, it reads like nothing. Then you see the spin. The tour turns a forehand 2,844 times a minute. His ball rotates 3,019 times before it touches the ground. Every coach teaches the same trade. You buy spin by giving up speed. You buy speed by flattening the spin. His forehand refuses that deal. It sits above the tour on both at once. Watch what happens when he stops rallying and decides to hurt you. The topspin drive climbs to 84 miles an hour, and the spin does not fall to pay for it. It rises to 3,034. Now you're the man across the net. The ball leaves slower than a flat missile and arrives heavier than one, and in the half second you get to choose, it kicks up past your shoulder. Above average is the wrong phrase for it, and these aren't his peak. These are his averages, dragged down by every tight game and tired afternoon of a teenager's first full season on tour. So the eye test and the tracking finally agree. The thing that terrifies the top 10 is real, it's measurable, and it carries a radar signature no highlight reel invented. The 10 best players alive have now stood across from this ball, and the film shows them starting to do one thing against Fonseca they do against almost no one else on tour. It is January 2025. Rod Laver Arena, the lights already hot. You are 18, ranked 113 in the world, and the man waiting to receive your serve is Andre Rublev, a fixture of the top 10. This is your first Grand Slam main draw. Not a qualifier, not a wildcard exhibition. The real thing on the sport's oldest hard courts, and nobody in the building expects you to last the first hour. You do more than last. Rublev walks off beaten. Rewind 11 months. It is February 2024, Rio de Janeiro, and you are 17, ranked somewhere near 730, a home wildcard nobody outside Brazil has bothered to learn. You reach the quarterfinals of an ATP 500 on your own soil, and when the fortnight ends, your name has jumped to 145 in the world. A boy climbing nearly 600 places in 2 weeks. Now it is February 2025, Buenos Aires. Clay again, a crowd that has decided you belong to it, and you stand one match from a first ATP title in only your second real season. In 1 second set tiebreak, won 7 points to 1. The forehand you already know arrives exactly when the title is closest. You lift the trophy at 18, and you become the first player born in 2006 or later to win an ATP title, the leading edge of a generation that has not properly arrived yet. 4 months on, at your French Open debut, they hand you the world number 30, Hubert Hurkacz. You beat him too. 3 of the sport's biggest stages, 3 of its established names, all inside a single year. And yet the same Infosys tracking that made this forehand famous still files it as only mid-pack, capped by the 2 numbers you already know, feared and unfinished at once, which sets up the strangest decision of a young career, the season the hardest hitter of his generation started on purpose to take the pace off. It is late October in Basel. The roof closed, the lights low, and you are 1 point from a title. Across the net stands Alejandro Davidovich Fokina, and the tracking data says this is exactly the moment you crack. 81 of every 100 forehands land. 1 in 5 does not. And only 22 in 100 come anywhere near the line the best players paint corners with. On the sheet, this is a hitter who misses. This is not supposed to be the man lifting the trophy. He lifts it anyway. His second tour title of the season, an ATP 500, and he closed it out clean. So walk it back. What actually changed between the teenager who blasted through Buenos Aires in February and the one holding Basel in October? Not the speed. The forehand still leaves the strings at 81 miles an hour. It is a rally, deep in that final, and the old version of you swings for the paint and praise. This version does something stranger. You take the pace off. The hardest hitter of his generation, learning, on purpose, to hit softer, to wait, to temper the power with patience. It is the word an entire country has been afraid to say out loud since Guga. Generational. That is the part that should frighten the top 10. The weapon is already finished, the floor is not, and he is only 19. He walked into his first Grand Slam ranked 113th in the world. He walked out of this season with 2 titles and a forehand the entire tour keeps scouting notes on. And still, by his own tour's math, average. The top 10 already see the contradiction. The forehand that terrifies them is the finished part. The shot that will actually beat them, the patient one, barely exists yet, and he is building it in public at 19. The first opponent to meet the finished version will not see it coming, and it will not be the forehand. It is match point in Buenos Aires. He loads, the chest turns, the racket fires, and then it just stops, folded low across his ribs, nowhere near his shoulder. Every coach on earth teaches the same ending. Swing high, wrap the racket behind the head, his looks cut off halfway. The over-the-shoulder wrap is how you prove you swung all the way through, and cutting it short should mean less racket head speed, a lighter ball. His is one of the heaviest on the tour. The racket dies at the bicep. Alcaraz does it. Sin Air does it. 3 of the biggest forehands in the sport, and not one of them finishes where the textbook says it should. Finish over the shoulder and your body keeps turning. You drift off the mark. You're a half step late to the reply. Stop the racket at the bicep and the rotation stops with it. You're square, loaded, ready, before the ball's even crossed the net. The finish is a break. The heavy ball the top 10 can survive. What they can't survive is that it costs him nothing. He hits the biggest shot in the rally and he's never the one out of position afterward. Brazil had waited since Guga for a player who could do this. Not just hit through you and stand there, calm, waiting for whatever you dared to send back. Picture it from the other side. You paint the line with your best backhand, a ball that should drag him wide, off the court, done. He's already standing there, racket back, waiting for it to arrive. But the compact finish hides a bill. The same tight window that resets him so fast also shrinks his margin, and his forehand still misses roughly 1 ball in 5 and lands within a meter of the sideline barely a fifth of the time. A reset only matters if the next ball has a plan. Right now, the next ball is the last ball, hit just as hard, aimed at the same corner. So the finish is perfect, and it solves the wrong problem. It leaves him ready for a ball he only knows one way to hit. The first top 10 player to beat him won't try to survive the forehand. He'll feed it again and again until Fonseca is forced to do the one thing his game was never built to do. And you're about to see exactly what that thing is. If this brought the match back to you, subscribe for the next one.